if ketu is in the fifth house, there will be this karma of native where the person will have to take the responsibility of a child, and that child is not biologically born from his own body. For example, this person has to take the responsibility of the nephew daughter of his brother's child. In the responsibility of marriage, he took the responsibility of all marriage expenses and did the kanyadan, took the all responsibility of marriage of his nephew daughter because his brother was dead. Another example of my another client was the person's brother and his sister-in-law were in out of the country. The kid was born in the same family and she has to take the responsibility of that child until the age of the child was 8 years of age, and taking responsibility of that child from birth to the 8 years of age as a mother herself is another part of it. So anyhow, if ketu is in the fifth house, there will be such kind of responsibility. But the point is, as I said earlier, 1/12 of the population would have ketu in the fifth house. So all 1/12 the population will face similar kind of situations in their life? No. As I said earlier, to give any prediction, to confirm any event, the same pattern of planets will have to be seen continuously in D1, D9 and D60 chart, at least up to the NAVAMSHA level, D9 level. For example, if ketu is the natural lord of the Scorpio is also ketu. So if for example ketu is in the fifth house in anybody's NAVAMSHA chart, and in the same chart, if 8th lord is in the fifth house in the Rashi chart, the natural sign of Scorpio is in the fifth house of either Rashi or NAVAMSHA chart, or A8, Pada of 8th house, again falling in the fifth house. If similar kind of combinations continuously fall in NAVAMSHA chart, at least up to the level of NAVAMSHA chart, this prediction will be true in case of native. So I was doing consultation of this native, and what I predicted was, there is this story in your family lineage where a mother or a father too gave birth to a child, and that child did not belong to his that child somehow belonged from outer woman or outer man. There is this such kind of story in the family, and what she later confirmed is that actually her grandfather did not legally sign the papers of the in the birth certificate when this native's father was about to do the legal papers of document. The grandfather means her father's father did not sign in the legal documents, and what he confirmed, that grandfather confirmed to my native client, is actually you did not took birth from you are not my biological son, because the grandmother, the so-called grandmother, has this baby from another woman in her own life, is the story. So how did I predict this? In the Rashi chart, fifth house, in the Rashi chart, D1 chart, there is this pada of A8, the natural Scorpion sign, natural pada of A8, we call it as pada of 8th house, was in the 5th house. So something suspicious or something unknown is present in the house of sign. By the way, wherever the sign of Scorpio is placed in the horoscope, there is this something hidden or something unknown story of the native. That story might be somewhat, that story might not be very intense also. That story might be very intense also. For example, in this case, the story is very intense. So it depends upon the other combinations, but at least some or other sort of uncertainty is there, because 8th house is the house of natural fluctuation, and wherever the 8th lord also goes, because 8th house is a house of natural fluctuation, something hidden, something unknown is there. So pada of A8 was present in the 5th house of this native, of this client. And again in the NAVAMSHA chart also, in the NAVAMSHA chart of the same person, there is placement of ketu and sun itself. Sun is natural karaka for 5th house, the sign of Leo. So again there is this ketu and sun conjunction in the again 5th house. Again this predictions uh, slightly keeps, again this prediction keep on making sense from the up to the level of Navamsha chart also. And because Ketu is natural karak of, as you know, breakage also, so there is some or other sort of breakage in the lineage part, because fifth house is such a house where from that house the energy source of fifth house, from the energy source of fifth house we produce our offsprings. And in the house of production of offsprings there is this natural karaka of sun, natural karaka of children, sun in the same house. And moreover Leo was also placed in the fifth house. By that I mean in Navamsha chart this native was Aries rising in the Lagna. So in this natural house of Leo, sun was placed and Ketu was also placed, so there is this breakage. But the final confirmation how I made this prediction was actually in the Rashi chart. I'll post the screenshot of the chart in the somewhere in the screen. And in the Rashi chart also Rahu was placed in this D60 Sastyamsa Amsa of Kulagna. And wherever any planet goes in the Sastyamsa Amsa of Kulagna, the same prediction which I just made, somehow it will make sense. The production of child or the production of offsprings from outer member other than the legal member of the family. For example, wife produced children from outer woman, outer man other than his wife, and husband producing offsprings other than his wife from outer woman. Such kind of issues is there if Kulagna is present, Angsa of Kulagna is present somewhere in the chart. But the same Angsa of Kulagna has again has to fall in the house of 8th house, again has to fall in the house of 12th house and 5th house, because the natural signification of 12th house is, as you all know, bed pleasures, but the unknown signification which most of astrologers or most of student of astrology does not know is 12th house is my lineage side of story also. And for this reason any curse or any blessings which I get from my lineage is seen from the 12th house. If I have to speak very precisely, it's seen from the 12th house of the D60. If I look at the D60 of the 12th house of the D60 chart, a very precise prediction of the lineage can be made. But this is just a one part. From all the divisional charts, the 12th house will show the lineage side of the story, either blessing or curse, both ways. So in this same chart, in the house of 12th, there is this there is this placement of Rahu. And as you all know, Rahu always thinks out of the box. Something out of the box flavor is there. The energy of out of the box Rahu in the 12th house of lineage, that too in the sign of Scorpio, because in the Rashi chart this person was Sagittarius rising. In the sign of Scorpio of something uncertain, placement of Rahu in the same house, again in the Amsa of Kulagna. And in the same chart of Rashi chart there is this placement of A8, Pada of A8, and again in the Navamsha chart also Sun and Ketu conjunct in the 5th house. With all these combinations I was compelled to make this prediction. But the tricky part is it might also be true, or I must have predicted that you are the one who is going to produce offsprings out from your family lineage, out from your legal marriage procedure. If this person was female, then she will produce offsprings from outer woman, and this person was male, then he will produce offsprings from the outer woman. So why I made these predictions that this might be the prediction of lineage also, because actually this is the kind of code of Jyotish. Okay, this is the blueprint of Jyotish, is whatever the chart, whatever the combination, even the past life pending karmas of the native that is present in the Rashi chart, and let's say in the Navamsha chart or D60 chart, I mean in the horoscope itself, the same story will be somehow present in the lineage side. For example, let's say if my grandfather has hit another person by a hammer in his head or in her head, if my grandfather has hit another person in his head, then I would suffer from a disease such as brain hemorrhage in my life. By that I mean whatever the blessings and curses, whatever the good and bad karmas that are done from my ancestors will be seen from my chart also. So what I suggested from to this client was, you are also the one, you have this potential to produce offsprings out from your marriage life, so please be careful. With this thing, the education part was extremely suffering, because whatever the prediction we have to make, the fruit of the karma is seen from the fifth house, isn't it? As you all know, Navamsha is the fruits of our karma. So actually, Navamsha chart is more accurate to make predictions rather than the Rashi chart. I have been using Navamsha chart since more than 1 year. Previously, when I used to do consultation, I used to look at from the Rashi chart. But in my experience over the period of time, what I've experienced is Navamsha chart. Please treat Navamsha chart as though it is the Rashi chart only, because I can vow this, I can guarantee you this thing, that apply all the astrological principles in the Navamsha chart and it will make more sense rather than the Rashi chart. So, and in the Navamsha chart, there is this placement of Ketu, Sun, Leo in the fifth house. The education part is extremely suffering. The person is stuck in his whole career, in her whole career, because the education part is suffering. And there is this potential in the same person's chart that she will also produce offsprings out from her legal husband. And if she happens to do this same karma, repeat the karma of ancestor, again some or other part of the areas will again suffer. The remedy is, one of the remedy is to take this precautionary step of whatever the potential bad karma you are about to do. And another remedy is, there is this remedy of Ketu. To utter this, to tell this remedy of Ketu right now, it will take a long time. I'll come up with remedy of Ketu and the fifth house and education all combined in my upcoming videos. Please take care. Namaste.